On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues, and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy.
Coming up this week.
So that's what I focus on because that's my day-to-day job. I'm a professional weirdo, but it's still a job.
Hello everybody, my name's Hennis and welcome to another episode of On the Track. I'm a chicken, but my friend Mr. Simon from Denmark thinks that I'm a Gnostic Archon, and I don't know what that means. But you can't argue with anybody from Denmark because they've got mermaids and they make my favourite biscuits. So maybe I should be a Gnostic Archon, whatever that means.
All hail the Magister of 365 levels!
All hail! Can I have a biscuit, please?
Of course you can, Hennis.
Tell me what's in today's episode, Mr. John.
Well, Hennis, in this week's episode, we meet our old friend Allison Jornlin, who is talking about her work about women in Forteana.
I really like the old credits.
So, Jeff, we've got a special guest today in the studio, haven't we? We have Barry, that we have. We're going to be meeting a ditch-dwelling hermit who's going to get all wistful and dewy-eyed when he remembers Richard Baker.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. On the Track is a show which we do every Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, for about half an hour, and it's augmented, if that's the word, by a show called On the Track Extra that we do every Wednesday evening at 6:30. And on the last Wednesday of each month we do something which is imaginatively called the Last Wednesday of the Month show, in which me and the lovely Vivian Powell, together with our regular team of Lee McCrinnan, Dave Scott and Ian Squibbs, and a plethora of delicious guests, discuss, debate and sometimes make fun of the latest events in the Fortean zoological universe. So that's when. Now what? Well, it's a mixture, a melange, a muddle. It's I'm sure there's other things beginning with M. Lauren, what begins with M?
Meow.
I think he certainly does.
I don't think you can see me. Can you actually see me?
No, you're covered in cat.
Well, I'm sure that both Lauren and Peanut are right, and that we are a meow of a show. But although I'm an overweight English naturalist, there's only been one overweight English naturalist who could ever speak the language of cats, and I'm afraid I am no Dr. Dolittle. But I will take it as read that we are a meow of a show. But okay, we've told you what we are, we've told you what it's about, sort of, but what's in it? Well, it is hard science, weird shit and surreality. What's surreality? We'll go and ask whatever that is over there.
Imagine flying to Mantua in a treacle factory on the moon.
So it's been ages, Alison. What have you been doing in the last however long it's been?
Well, I mostly work with my brother at American Ghost Walks. We have tours in 8 states, Puerto Rico, and St. Thomas
Wow.
in the Virgin Islands. So if anybody out there in the States wants to take a tour, go to AmericanGhostWalks.com. So mostly I work uh, writing and researching ghost stories, but because it's a small family business, I'm often pulled in to help with all manner of other things. So that's what I focus on because that's my day-to-day job. I'm a professional weirdo, but it's still a job.
Well, I just think that's a pretty good job to have.
Yes, it is excellent. I don't want to complain. But there's other projects I have like paranormalwomen.com, which really have taken the back burner. But I would welcome everyone to look at that website because there's in excess of 40 women that are profiled on my blog. It's completely free. And the great thing about each blog entry is I'm oftentimes able to link people to the actual work of these pioneers in parapsychology, the paranormal, and psychical research. I'm often able to link people directly to their work for completely free.
Well, I know that you contacted my friend and assistant, Gwyn Palmer, about
Yes.
what she's been doing with Odette Chernin.
Yes, and there are some women that I have a list of well over 100 that I need to add in my quieter time in the winter when tours aren't as busy, although we still have some going year round in our warmer destinations like California and Hawaii and Puerto Rico and St. Thomas. But I will be less called on to handle things like human resources, for example. So that's when I can indulge. But one thing, Jonathan, that I kind of want to get your read on because you're a mentor to me. Um,
Me? A
yes,
mentor?
yes, absolutely. You're a mentor type person,
Well, I
don't you
suppose
consider yourself?
I was a professional weirdo when you were still a little girl, so
I know, right? So you're like my Dumbledore.
I've got the right hat.
I know. Absolutely. You got the beard, you
And
got the
you've
hat.
now got the scar in your forehead. Forehead, Harry
Yeah.
Potter.
Yes, absolutely. I do have some facial scarring as we speak. But what
Sorry
I
to
want
joke about that, but
No, that's okay. That's okay. Just in case anyone notices. Uh I
which they won't because I can't bloody see it.
Okay, well, I have it concealed cleverly. I
Well,
wanted
you're a
to
very clever girl, so.
Thank you. I have a question for you. It's sad sometimes when I research certain women, I find that, they sometimes have a racist history or even a Nazi history. And then it's hard for me to go further, especially in our political climate, to writing about them. Although, people should be considered in their time. But sometimes when I do a little bit too much research, I uncover things I don't want to uncover.
But context is king.
Yes,
And you
Absolutely.
always, my advice to everybody is to always see them in the context of the time in which they lived.
Yes. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it because, you know, uh, everyone has positive things about them, even, if they made certain choices that we would eschew today. But I like here are some notables that are up on the website right now that, don't have a troubling backstory. Like for instance, uh Mary Rose Barrington. She
Mhm.
was awesome and left us just a few years back. Do you recall her work, Jonathan?
I vaguely know the name, but come and tell me, who is she
Yes.
or was
Yes.
she?
So anyway, she came up with the just one of those things phenomena. So have you heard of that, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you maybe have
I
because it
probably have, because my
yes, it's sometimes abbreviated to JOT, JOTT.
just
And
remember, I'm a silly old man whose memory is going. So
yes, yes, absolutely. Aren't we all silly old ones whose memories are
no,
are
you're
going?
not. You're just a sweet young thing. You are.
I don't know about that. I just had my 56th birthday last week.
You're still
Last
10 years younger than me, young lady.
well, okay. Well, we should be glad to be elders, Jonathan, and everyone, if they're lucky, will
You're
get
not an
here someday.
elder. You're a sweet young thing, and don't argue, young missy.
Okay, I won't argue. So anyway, Mary Rose Barrington came up with this idea of just one of those things to refer to a phenomena that we've all experienced, where objects uh, in our households usually might disappear and reappear in sometimes unusual places.
Oh,
So,
Lordy, yeah, that's
yes,
happened to me
yes.
a
So those
hundred
are called,
times.
yeah, those are called jottles. So that's when objects, seemingly normal objects that you have around the house, just disappear. And actually, on one of my YouTube channels, youtube.com/Mothman, um, I have a video about fairies, and that video has gotten a lot of discussion over the years. And one of the commenters uh, has told me that she actually had a hair dryer that vanished for 15 years. So she
Good
was
God.
using it one day, and then she stepped out and she went back to, finish drying her hair and found that it had disappeared. She thought maybe her husband was playing a trick on her. She talked to her husband about it. She looked all around, of course, and she couldn't find it. And then 15 years later, it popped up again in that exact same location to where as where she had been using it that day. It disappeared. So that's called the jottle. Um, there's
Cool.
also there's also odd jots, and those are items that appear in impossible or highly improbable places. So it'd be like you're going into your freezer to get some ice cream, and you find some Christmas ornaments, for example. So that would be an example of an odd jot because, seemingly there's no way that you would have conceivably, or anybody in your household would have conceivably put the Christmas tree ornaments in the freezer. But nevertheless, one day you find them in there. So that's an odd jot. And then flyaways that are objects that seem to vanish into thin air. And actually, a prominent author. He's now deceased. He was an American author named. He was a mystery writer named Dean Koontz, and he wrote
I've
mysteries.
read his books. Yeah,
Oh, you remember him? Yes. So
I've read several of his books. My
Yes.
son-in-law is a big fan.
Yes. So I'm glad you know of him. He wrote a lot of great thrillers and mysteries in his time. And I remember hearing him on Coast to Coast AM, the popular radio show of yore, being interviewed by the host. And he told the interviewer that one time he was having dinner at his dining room table and suddenly he dropped the fork. And of course, he bent down to the floor to find the fork and pick it up, and it was nowhere to be found. He took the whole room apart, and it was never found again. So these are examples of jot phenomena, just one of those things. And I love it because I've often wondered about the paranormal and how it often intersects with our world, with the normal, where you're just doing the day-to-day mundane things that we all do every day, and then suddenly something strange happens. And too often, I think, we brush it under the rug and we just go on with our 24/7 day-to-day algorithm, and we don't give it another thought. But sometimes when you look closely at these unusual things that are often disregarded, you get a picture of the paranormal being more of a thing, more intrusive in our lives than maybe we usually allow ourselves to notice.
Well,
So I
I
often
think
think
it's the other
people,
way around.
What's that?
I don't like the words paranormal or supernatural because I think these things are perfectly normal and perfectly natural. It's just that they are defined by laws of physics that we don't understand yet.
Yes, well, I would agree with you. Um, I think it's kind of an artificial way of seeing
Hmm.
things that
So,
we use to live in the normal. And
and
I
there's
think,
no such thing as normal.
right.
And oh golly, here I am. I'm quoting Morrissey now. That's a bad thing, isn't it? Because he had a song that went, "There is no such thing in life as normal." Well, he was completely correct. There isn't anything in such thing in life as normal. When things disappear, when they reappear, when they vanish for good, or when they fly off out the window, that's perfectly normal. It's just that we demonize it and call it paranormal because we don't understand it, and we as a species don't like things we don't understand.
Yes. And I think it's part of the current human condition that we discount these things. And as I said, just brush them under the carpet so we don't have to deal with the psychological and world bending consequences of these things happening. So, but
And even worse, as a society, we demonize people like you and me and call us weirdos. I mean, we are weirdos, but but we're only weird because we accept the existence of stuff which most people don't.
yes, so they're in denial, and then suddenly we have a problem. Not the
Yes,
case.
exactly.
Yeah, I think we're seeing things for the way they actually are. And we have to remember that this sensory system that we all depend on, our five senses, uh is just a construct. I mean, it's just our model of the world. For other
Hmm.
creatures, their perception of reality is entirely different. And, we have to realize that our perception is limited. And Mary Rose Barrington was one of those pioneers that was out there and coming up with these these concepts that really shed light on something greater
I
that
agree
happens to us
totally.
all.
You
Yes.
just said though that we have five senses. We've got a hell of a lot more than that. Because we
Absolutely.
think of what's it, sight, sound, taste, smell, hearing. Sight, sound, taste, smell, hearing, touch.
Touch.
Hang on,
Yeah.
how many is that? I thought, however, but there's lots more. There's pressure, there's heat, there's humidity. All of these are things that we can sense. And there are hundreds of different sensory stimuli which we can sense, which we
Yes.
can pick up on, and which most of the time we pay no attention to because we do it automatically.
Yes, the weird is much weirder than we give it credit for, and it's much more commonplace at the same time. So I welcome everybody to look into the research of Mary Rose Barrington, and do it through my website, paranormalwomen.com. It'll get you a little bit closer to what reality really is.
You heard it here first, folks. Go and check it out. So, okay, who else you got on your website that you want to, that's overlooked and that you'd like to pass on to us all?
Yeah, well, another one is Rhea White. Rhea White was a researcher who a friend of mine personally knew. I'm friends with a parapsychologist whose name is Nancy Zangroni, and she did her work throughout the United States at notable places like the Rhine Research Center in North Carolina. And her husband, Carlos, was also um, Carlos Alvarado was also a parapsychologist of note, and unfortunately, a few years back, he died of cancer suddenly. And so now, as Nancy's getting older, she is consolidating and downsizing, and so I've been taking road trips with her around the USA because she and Carlos had amassed quite a library of books that are relevant to parapsychologists. So we've been going to the Rhine and other research institutions to donate shipments of books, and that's been great fun. And
What a lovely
um,
thing to do.
yeah,
That's absolutely wonderful.
well, it's just great fun for me because who doesn't like to take a road trip, especially a road trip associated with parapsychology. So one of the women that Nancy has talked with me about it was Rhea White, and Rhea White studied uh extraordinary human experiences, and that actually was the term that she came up with. Um, EHE. And many of us have heard of the concept of flow in sports, for example. And so she took that further in her studies, where she looked at flow, this high performance state of incredible focus, and related it to EHEs, so exceptional human experiences. Uh, so anyway, she founded something called the Exceptional Human Experiences Network, and she also advocated for a feminist approach to parapsychology. And then this spring, when Nancy Zangroni and I visited Duke University, we looked at the building that had housed the parapsychology lab there, and that's where she worked. And I got to see the gazebo where she'd go out and
Oh,
have lunch, and it was really fun to see that. But um, she has a book called the Psychic Side of Sports, which is available on archive.org. So if you love sports, there is some parapsychology that has been involved in the study of it, at least in the 70s. And she wrote a book with Michael Murphy about it. So that's one of the resources. Is if you go to my website, uh, and then go down to the bottom well, click on Real White, and then go down to the bottom of the page, you'll see links to her work. And one of her books that is freely available for you to read is The Psychic Side of Sports. And you can read about extraordinary experiences that athletes have had, that are spiritual, that are telepathic. There are many aspects of sports uh, where the paranormal has walked in. So
Oh,
that would be another one that I would suggest.
I've never heard of this. This is
Yes.
wonderful.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of my website, paranormalwomen.com. It's totally free, and I'm looking for free resources so that people can read the works of these extraordinary women and learn more about principally parapsychology and the windows to our world that research in parapsychology have opened up for all of us, and these are now freely available. So go to paranormalwomen.com, and there's 40 women there that you can learn more about them, their lives, their contributions, and then read some of their extraordinary work, and it might surprise you. And I, and
Well,
I'm surprised right here that I'm mentioning things to you,
well,
Jonathan,
I
that you've
didn't
never heard
know,
of.
and I've been doing this for a living for 35 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's why paranormalwomen.com is a great resource, because not only does uh it bring to light forgotten females who contributed to our understanding of parapsychology, the psychical and the paranormal, but also it's a showcase for their work, which will make you think and extend your understanding of the weird. So please check it out.
When you do, I don't know if you've done Odette Churning yet on there,
I have not.
but
I'm still
when you
working on her.
do, there is a big resource that Guinevere put together that's on our website of a lot of her archive material and stuff that I don't know where on earth Gwyn managed to dig all this stuff up. There's a whole library of stuff that Odette Chernin wrote mostly during the war, and so please link to that. You're welcome to
I
use that
will.
for
I will,
everything.
of course. I'm interested in getting the work out to everyone, because these discoveries made by scientists belong to all of us.
I agree, and information should be free. Information shouldn't be the. By the way, if you just heard a weird noise, it's not a ghost, it's my dog being stupid. Um, get your nose out of the bin, dog. He's just trying to turn out the bin. Um, Now I've got completely lost. Information should be free. It shouldn't just be for people who can afford it.
Yeah, and
And
that's why.
even more so, it shouldn't be for people who got hold of it by accident, then to sit
Yeah.
on it and not share it. So, who else? Who's next? I'm enjoying this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I think we've talked about Catherine Crowe. She's the one who started it all for me, and that's why she's the first one that I blogged about. Are you familiar with Catherine Crowe?
I know the name. I don't know her work very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, so she's the reason that we know the word poltergeist. So everybody should know Catherine Crowe's name because she wrote a book called The Night Side of Nature in 1848. And she was the first. If you look at the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, it lists the first usage of certain words in the English language. And it's right there, 1848, Catherine Crowe, The Night Side of Nature. She discusses a lot of famous German discoveries, including the poltergeist. Now, she was English, like yourself, born in Kent, incidentally, and but she was multilingual. She, of course, spoke English, but she also spoke German and French. And so in 1845, she became enamored with the work of a German physician. He had written a, a book about the psychic experiences he had with one of his patients called the Seeress of Prevorst. And so she actually decided, well, hey, everybody should read this book. And so she translated it from the German.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, says, don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you'll miss the new episodes. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
They might be thinking about visiting the south. Well, there's things you need to know. The south might seem quaint, but remember, in the south, they drink shandy. They keep cats. They vote Tory. They go to focus groups. They go to wine bars. They're as soft as shite. So if you visit the south, remember, think once, think twice, think soft as shite.
That was a public information film.
Well, that's about it for this episode. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to my special guest this week and again next week, the lovely Allison Jornlin. But there's something far more important that I need to thank Allison for. Regular CFZ watchers will know that for the last year we haven't had anybody running a CFZ USA. This is for all sorts of reasons, none of which I have any intention of going into here. But I am very pleased to announce that as of today, Allison Jornlin has now become the Supremo for the CFZ in the United States of America, and together with Dave Scott from CFZ Canada is going to be putting together a network of researchers all the way across the continent. Thank you for coming aboard, Allison. I cannot thank you highly and strongly enough. Now, I'd like to, by the way, here's Peanut, just in case you hadn't noticed, and Peanut and I would like to say thank you to everybody else, but for whom this show wouldn't have been made. Fee, Richard, the lovely Guinevere, and by the way, now Allison's joined us, I've told V and Dave Scott they have to dye their hair, because these days all the section heads are pretty redheads. And although V McCrimmon and Dave Scott are very pretty, they're not redheads. And this is something which I think will have to be dealt with. Thank you very much for everything that you guys do to keep the ridiculous CFZ show on the road. And thank you very much for all you continue to do behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to do all this. I'm going to be back on Saturday. What are we talking about on Saturday? Well, I think I just told you that the second half of my conversation with Allison Jornlin. And so, are you watching, Mr. McCrinnan? Because if you are watching, Mr. McCrinnan, I hope you'll be watching on Saturday, Mr. McCrinnan, because if you're watching on Saturday, I'll be doing all the gubbins I normally do. The notifications, the emails, the social media posts, the live chat, and everything else I do. It also includes cuddling the cat. And if you're there watching it, Mr. McCrinnan, then I most certainly will be seeing you.